Hey, good morning, YouTube. Well, I'm going to talk about Greenleaf. It's Greenleaf Season 2, Episode 15. So there's one more episode. The finale is next week. So this episode starts with Bishop is giving Sophia dancing lessons, right? She's practicing for this ballroom, this cotillion. And he's going to be a part of the ceremony because her father's not there. So he's going to step in the role as the father, the grandfather, whatever. He's showing her how to dance. He seems to be a pretty snappy little dancer. Okay, so right off, right from the beginning, we can see that Bishop and Lady May are having issues. He's throwing her shade. He's dropping these little lugs all through the episode. So this is all brought on by the last scene of last week. Bishop was starting to piece things together about why this man should be apologizing to his wife. He put it all together pretty much, but he hasn't confronted her about it yet. So they're just hinting and being snippy, shall we say, through this episode. Okay. So next thing we see is Rochelle. Miss Rochelle Cross shows up at the bishop's office again. We still don't know what her motivations are and what she's up to. We know she showed up in his office again and gave another big donation. They don't tell us how much the donation is this time, but first time was $10,000. So Rochelle got this money because she had from what I understand, her husband died and left her a lot of money. Okay, so he can kind of sense that something is not quite right, something's wrong. And she eventually tells him that her 5-year, she has to go back to do tests every 5 years, apparently, to make sure the cancer is not returned. Well, the doctors have called her after she did the test, and they asked her to come into the hospital. So her feeling, she's very afraid. I guess she's just giving God a little money to kind of tip the scales in her direction. But she's very afraid, and she says, because ordinarily they just call her with the results. But since they asked her to come into the hospital, she's very nervous about this cancer. He volunteers to take her in to the hospital to give her moral support or spiritual support. Right? Okay, so she goes in. She comes out a few months later. There are a couple of kind of weird looks she's giving when he asks her questions, but she basically says, okay, the results are in. They were good. There's no problem. They hug each other in the see, this is how rumors get started. They are hugging each other passionately in the office, although nothing's passionate has gone on between them up until now. And maybe he would hug anybody who he went to get the results for and found out that it was negative. But it just doesn't look right for him to be out of the church at the hospital with this beautiful woman hugging her, which appears to be passionately. So he said, well, what do they want to see you about? And she, over his eyes, not out of his scene, we see her kind of giving a puzzled kind of look. So we don't know how to read that look. Or at least I didn't. Either maybe she didn't even come in there for the tests. Miss Rochelle is up to something, and they got to wrap it up because the last episode is next week. We'll soon find out. Okay. Next we see this deputy mayor, this guy. All right, he comes and visits Jacob. He wants Jacob's support in spiritual community. Of course, it's going to be a big community in the black community. So, and he hints at that there could be a lot of money in for the church by them supporting him with grants. You know, a lot of church services, particularly the nonprofit part of the church, separate from the organization even, they run on grants. So he's thinking that the money will flow as long as you play ball. All right. So we'll get back to those two as well. Charity has to leave. Okay, so Charity Jabari is really pushing her to do this concert, and she wants to delay it a couple of weeks because their housekeeper, who she was going to have watch the baby for the first while she's gone, as her husband is taken ill, and so she's not going to be able to do it, right? And so she tells him, Jabari, that we have to delay my presence 2 weeks. I can join them on the. She's going to tour with Tamala Man, of course. I can join them on the tour, but it's going to be a couple of weeks because her husband is in the hospital with meningitis. I don't know if she's sick or not, but he is definitely sick in the hospital. Jabari is not going for it. He said, well, if you can't come on the whole tour, we want you to not come at all. We'll do it next time. She said, no, she wants to do it. She said, she told her father she wants to do something. She wants to sing outside of the church. This could be a stepping stone for her to tour with this woman, Tamala Man. All right, so she has come up with another plan. Lady May does not want her to go on this tour. She's saying it's irresponsible. Stay here and take care of your child. Bishop is seeing that this is this girl's ministry, and he wants to encourage her in her singing career. So he tells her to go. We'll take care of the baby. So it feeds into this disagreement that May, and this tension between May and Bishop. There already is tension because he knows his wife has been I was gonna say I got a dick on the side, but I'll be nice. Had something going with his best friend. Okay, but he's encouraging her to go on the tour. Okay, next thing we see is Clarissa is in Zora's room. Clarissa talks to Zora in her room and telling her that she had talked to one of, I guess, her counselors, her teachers in her school. And she said, what's wrong with my grades? I'm at a B average, or very near it. She said, it's not your grades, but he tells me that you are not participating in class. So she fears something's up. She later confronts Jacob about it, and Jacob said, well, you think she's smoking weed? That's what I did when I was that age. So, because he suggests that she may be smoking weed or doing some kind of drug, when Zora's out of the house, Clarissa goes and searches her room, her daughter's room, looking for evidence of marijuana, right? Instead of marijuana, she finds a condom. And guess who comes into the room as she finds the condom? All right, there's Miss Zora. So they have a big fallout. She accuses her of being irresponsible. How could you be so irresponsible to have something like this? And she said, well, isn't a condom the definition of being responsible? And then Clarissa goes into her mother talk about how she made her husband wait, and because she made her husband wait before they had sex, he respected her. And Miss Zora says, did he really? Wrong answer. Clarissa hauls off and slaps the shit out of her, although the sound effects, they didn't do it right, because it's like I saw it was a wave kind of a slap, and they added the sound. It's supposed to be, ow, goddamn. But we got the effect. She slapped the hell out of her. She goes right into her making up thing, where she's very clear that boy is no longer welcome in my house. Do not bring him here. All right. Now, the reason why... Okay, let me go back a little tiny bit. Zora, this man has done grabbed her by her arm. She got finger marks on her arm where he's held her. It's been an abusive situation that's escalating since the day she started messing with him. Now she got a bruise in her arm, so when her mother knocked on the door, her bedroom door initially, she took a minute she had to put something on to cover her arm up. So anyway, I should have told you that before, but. So he's not welcome in the house. let's leave it there. Okay. Jacob. Okay, Jacob wants to bring this new congregation he was putting together with the homeless people, homeless outreach. He's invited them to join the church. He feels very strongly that he wants to get the homeless involved in the church. And this woman, the treasurer, you know what? I wrote her name down. This woman, the treasurer, Sister Weaver. Sister Weaver, the light-skinned girl, does not want them bums in her church. So she feels very strongly about it. And she's saying the last time they tried to help do outreach to the homeless or bringing people into church, they only picked up 4 new members and they lost 200. Because you know the bougie people don't want to be with the unclean. Now you wouldn't think that they would be that way, because the people who are on the street, they would seem that it would need the most help. She don't see it that way. She does not want them people in her church. And but he's determined. So at some point, they're having a sermon. This happens later on in the scene. But they're having a sermon, and this vice mayor, Jacob, in his sermon, tells the people that they've invited these people into the church, and that the city is going to give them a grant of $75,000 for buses, gasoline, insurance, everything it'll take to bring them there. And that woman she doesn't feel it at all. But she stands up with everyone else. Right. There was a big church meeting when Jacob presented to the I guess it's the board of directors, church board, whatever you call it, that he wanted to bring. This is his plan to bring these people here, and she was so opposed to it. So she gave her little speech about how they had lost members because of it. He took a vote. Everyone voted except for her. The yes with George will be open. This is what he wants to do. So, but she reluctantly had to join. Well, she had to save face inside of the church. She couldn't be the only one sitting down in her seat. So they're going to include, although I don't think it's very much of a program. He was just getting started when all this stuff would basically happen. All right. Okay, Darius is invited to the Greenleaf estate. Now, before, he was not welcome in their home. Bishop told her, don't bring him here. So now I guess they've all let it go. Maybe his last article wasn't was more compassionate. So they've let him in the house. And he seems to be getting along pretty good with everyone in the house. I mean, at first Grace was going to ask him, well, let's just have dinner alone, the 3 of us. Those 2 and the daughter, Sophia. But she said, no, you're ashamed of me or something like that. She says, no, something's going on with my parents, though. So she's picked up on this. She's picked up on this snippiness between them. He goes. They have a decent time. He tells them the story of his parents and how his parents, one died and then the other one died a few days later, and everyone was saying, "Oh, how sweet, how beautiful." And Bishop said, "Oh yeah, that is sweet." I do like Bishop's voice. He's got a very, very deep, resonant voice, which sounds like someone who would be someone of power. Anyway, he says, "Oh, that's very wonderful. I can't even imagine what that's like." Looking at his wife, Lady May. So he's been dropping lugs, like I said, the whole episode. Okay, so Darius has dinner. I still don't know what the story is with this Darius dude. Now, at first, it seems like he was just using Gigi to get information on this family, and that still may be the case, because because when she said that they're having problems, and he still wanted to come to dinner, it tells me that he still wants to get in on the inside track of this family. What is the real story between them? So I'm sure there are going to be quite a few cliffhangers in this. Next week, because it's the last episode. But so far, the family seemed to have forgiven him, and now they've accepted that this is someone that Gigi is seeing. All right. Rochelle and Bishop. Okay. Okay, so this thing with Charity. Now, Charity's, well, actually, it's Lady May and Bishop's housekeeper. Their housekeeper keeps the baby quite a bit. And Charity wants the housekeeper to come along on tour with her to watch the baby, right? Now, she can't do it because her husband is very ill in the hospital, right? So it comes out that he is not undocumented. He's undocumented. Even though he's been paying taxes for years, they've been in the country for years, he was afraid, so afraid, to show up at a hospital because he might be deported. That's how he got to be so sick. And this man works hard, pays taxes, pays all this stuff. And so Bishop asked, Lady May asked Gigi to find out if they could expedite this man's citizenship or get him documented. And so Bishop and what's the lady's name? And the pretty lady. I got to get her name again. I'm sorry, I'm getting old. And Rochelle speak with these officials. Rochelle happens to know the person who's in charge of that. They have a meeting. And then in the meeting, the official says that Bishop and Rochelle were like a team. And they gave each other these little looks. And Grace instantly knew what the problem was between her parents. She picked up on it. What the fuck? What do you mean a team? So now Grace is in on the situation. All right. So next thing we see, okay, since they can't make this thing happen with this, I forgot the housekeeper's name, but it can't happen right away. And Jabari is pushing for her to leave right away for the concert, the tour, which he actually really wants to go to very badly. They come up with the idea, and she runs it by Bishop, that they'll rehire Carlton. They'll rehire Carlton at the church. Bishop goes to pay Carlton a visit at his home. Initially, he tells him that since she tells him the situation, that he wants him to come back to church with full benefits. Because before, they wouldn't offer him no benefits. Now they're saying, we want you to come back. And Carlton is saying, come back as what? You're pet gay? Now, these people, y'all are confusing me sometimes. They have got so many roads leading back to the gay. I mean, they got a situation with Kevin, separate situation with Lionel, then those two together. And then they got a situation with basically wanted to start this gay outreach, open his church to be a affirming church. And now Grace got on the bandwagon with Basie, and now Jacob is picking up the mantle as far as being open in the affirming church. And now, so this other inroad is Carlton. So he tells Carlton, and I got something here. So I some of the stuff has stuck because when he went to visit them, and Carlton told him that he didn't want to be their token, Bishop had this epiphany, right, when he's talking to him, right? And he said 2 by 2. So what that is, that's from Noah's Ark. Remember how the Noah's Ark took, I'm assuming, that's where I got out of it anyway, 2 of everything on the earth. So when he said 2 by 2, didn't go to explain it to anybody or didn't vocalize anything. But I'm thinking that means Noah's Ark, 2 of each creature on the earth. Okay, so basically he's telling them, come back to the church, come back as yourself. And because Carlton had told him, unless you can follow in the footsteps of Triumph, as far as being opening and affirming church, he wasn't interested. He wasn't coming back. So they have a nonverbal agreement. And Carlton said he'll come back. Too bad about this guy now who's playing Carlton's husband, because he used to be a star of one of those series, a TV series. I forget which one it was. As a young man, now he's doing a little bit part. He hardly even gets any words. Such as show business. Okay, we're getting close to the end. Bishop confronts May about Lionel. He's out on the porch or the patio or deck or what. They got some everything there. So I guess he's out on some kind of deck, patio. And she approaches him and said, "We need to talk." And he tells her right away that, "I know that you had an affair with Lionel." "When was it?" And she says, "Now, baby, it was because of what you did. It was because of what you did with my sister. That was a one-time event. When was it?" So he wants to know when this happened, when this occurred. The dates are very important. Now, I'll cheat a little bit and say that I did watch Brother Caldwell's review last night. This morning? No, last night. And he suggested, or he brought up the idea that perhaps Jacob is the other man, Lionel's son, as opposed to Bishop's son. We don't know that. There's no evidence of that. But if the dates are that important, exactly when this happened, it could line up. If the writers can do whatever they want to do. So, but that would make sense, some sense. It could happen that way. We don't know. But she gives her impassionate speech. I don't want to go into all the details of the speech thing, but first she said, "I don't think I can ever love you. I don't love you right now, and I don't know if I can ever love you again." And she went into this thing. You think you could throw all this away? I guess she meant the house, the home, the church, and all this. And he was saying, "Throw us away," is what she's talking about. Us, all of this, everything. And she said, if he could throw it away, but like throwing away his very life. So she has a very high value on her relationship. All right, so they don't show up if they make up or not. They just show Bishop is hurt. He's on the verge of tears. He's a good actor, actually, this Bishop guy. All right. So Tasha visits Jacob in his office. I guess they just cut this into parts after it was already done, because that visit didn't make any sense. The only thing came out of it was she was going there to Jacob's office to tell him that she had cleared out of the office because Clarissa wanted that office next door to his very bad. She cleared out the office. Now so the first lady could have it. And so there's not even any energy between them. I mean, she's kind of rubbing her body, kind of being sexy. She's a pretty woman, she's being kind of sexy, but he didn't seem to bite. So I was trying to figure out, what is this scene all about? Because usually they close it on a dramatic scene, but there was nothing dramatic about that. The only thing that was even interesting about it was, as they were leaving the office, she looked back at the desk, the bishop's desk, the pastor's desk, because that's actually was her husband's desk. In longing, kind of thing. Okay, so I left out one scene. I'm going to add it right now. Basie Skanks called his wife. "Baby, where you at? Oh." Now, I thought that maybe it was already one of his plans. That she was already in on whatever his plan was. But there's no plan. But he tells her, of course, she wants him to come back. He says no, it's not the time. He tells her to get them Greenleafs. So he's given her instruction to get them. So it wasn't a plan that she would stay there to get them. And so we haven't heard the last of Basie Skanks. I have a feeling he's probably going to die next week. something's going to happen. He's going to try to blackmail somebody. Somebody, you know, if they already done killed off Uncle Matt, they've already done a murder in this thing, then they won't be the last one. So either basically or that abuser little boy, who I'm still not clear if it's his son or not, might get it next. But okay, so that's why they ended. She's looking back at the desk, which is where her husband's supposed to sit. Fade to black. That's it. Okay, people, next week is the season finale. See you then.